Okay, so yesterday I made this. Let's go outside, go back in. I added 2 lights just to make it a bit brighter. I also 2 directional lights to make it brighter, the entire world brighter. I also started working on the space station. The scale is still being worked out, but it seems to be a good scale. I'm fixing some issues with scale, which I'll get onto a bit later. I've added text to starport services for ship scanning, so it's the entrance bit. In fact, what I'll do is I'll fly through it. Player start, okay. Oops. So if I bring that up, rotate it around. Okay, so I'll fly through it. So we've got the starport services, the ship entrance, and this is where I think that it might be nice to have the ship fly into from the outside. So I've been blocking out this the space station and what everything would look like. So you fly in, and it gets progressively smaller, and I could have a sort of security gate type system here. And then you come out here. This behind you is blocked off. I don't know what I'll do with that, if I'll just change it. But I feel like, again, with this visual storytelling thing, I want to have it so that it seems quite sort of not really ominous, more just like it's show don't tell. It's like you don't actually see anything quite yet because it's quite claustrophobic and small. So this bit I might have like the paygo go through so that it'll be quite small, and then you have to perhaps destroy something with a destructible mesh to allow the Atlassian to come through. Maybe something is blocking over here. And then if you fly around here, it reveals this huge starport services kind of place, similar to Elite Dangerous, but this would be where obviously there for incoming and outgoing ships, so it'd be kind of like a security checkpoint in order to go into the Citadel. And I can fly down here, and there's a chair somewhere for scale but I can't find the chair. There's the chair, so you can see just how big it is. It's fairly large, so the scale's being worked out still. Whoops. I also need to fix like collision stuff, so I don't really know what I want to do with the collision, if I want them to break or whatever. So there's the security blockade, and then I started thinking, well, what if there's like a shuttle ship service? And here we have the hierarchical instant static meshes to show the this could be like a police bots all lined out that guard this huge elevator. So one's going up, one's going down. The one going down has a gravity lock, so I made that yesterday, where I'll show you what happens if you go into the gravity lock. So effectively enables gravity on your ship and increases your linear velocity by a lot. So if I were to go outside of this gravity lock, I now no longer have gravity, so I could just float here. But as soon as I go into it, I start being pulled down again. So this would be going into it'd be like an elevator going into the Citadel, and I want it to be fairly long, so it's sort of like build suspense. Again, it's that visual storytelling. It's similar to the ladder in Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, where you have the really long ladder with Snake Eater, the sound playing. So I'll likely have sound here. Then music sudden reveal when you pull up into the huge Citadel. and then you can see this would be like the entire citadel. So this would be the main set piece, and you can fly fly into here. I'm thinking of this all spins around, sort of like a simulation of creating gravity for the entire citadel, and those are like bridges going across. I also made this system that you can see flying by, which are kind of like ships flying by, or robots flying by. All that is again a hierarchical instance static mesh, where I can, if I go out, I'll show you. So there's a couple of them around the scene, but the scene's so big that it culls them at a certain distance. So they're over here. They're fairly small, so I'll talk about the issue I had with scaling in a minute, but so they're here. This is one, and I've used my same system that I've set up before, where I can just change the number of ships. I can change that to, if I wanted, I can change it to 1,000 ships, etc. So flying by. Let's change that back to something like 20. I can change the length between them, etc. Do I have a setting? No, I don't. Okay, so what it does is it literally just flies by. I'll show you the programming actually. So on play, so whenever it's created, it stores its own world transform. Then it uses a vector timeline to add a world position offset, a world location offset for the static meshes. Then it sets a timer that you select the time, and it will delete itself. But before it deletes itself, it spawns itself again in the exact location that it was at, wherever you placed it. So what I can do is I can literally just duplicate that, and then those will fly by, delete, and then a new set will fly by. So I can effectively just keep duplicating, and if I get the player start, you'll see that it just flies by. Where is it? There you go. So you can see them just flying by, and they delete, and it says delete, destroy. Then more come. They can just keep doing that. And those are in their own child blueprint. So they're fairly easy to set up now. All I have to do is just go into the blueprint, go to the instance static mesh. I can swap out any mesh I want. I do need to make sure that the robots or vehicles, whatever they are big enough, because I had this scaling issue. So what I tried to do was I tried to set this to something like 50, so they're huge, which does work. So it does work like that. However, it causes culling issues. So if I were to put this off way into the distance, you can see they disappear. Like there, they just disappear, which isn't great. And see there, they're disappearing, even though they're quite close, and only 3 are rendered, which isn't great. But if I put it back to 1, all like 20 odd ships are being rendered. So that's sort of an issue of how created by how hierarchical instance static meshes are rendered. You have to have the scale at 1, otherwise the culling just doesn't work. And I figured that out today by skipping through the video that I used to make this in the first place. Pardon me. So yeah, that's what I did. The scale is quite large. I don't know if I I'll shorten it, if I'll make it smaller, or if I'll keep it at this and use procedure generation to kind of fill in lots of this. What I'm thinking of doing is having this bridge where the player actually goes into the bridge and flies through it into the actual inside of the citadel itself, and then does stuff inside the citadel, and has to come out here and find stuff and whatnot. And I don't know where I'm going to place the fuel. If I do place it, it'll probably be like inside the big citadel, or inside a bridge or something. But what I'm thinking is the bridge has like a hole blown in it, because all of the citadel is kind of abandoned and broken. Also, I moved the earth a lot farther away because it'll look very odd if I go up here. It'd look very odd if it was quite close. So yeah, that's what I did yesterday. I made most of that. Scale wise, so I think that's pretty much everything for talking about scale and whatnot. Evaluation wise, I focused a lot on visual storytelling stuff because I made this entire this huge block out. I made this huge block out, and I thought about the certain visual storytelling elements, such as these spaceships. Like if they were to fly by, I see that in a lot of reference images of futuristic cities. You know, you have like the spaceships, and you have the hover cars and the flying cars and whatnot, and they're all flying by. But I thought about having them as actual spaceships, as people in there, them driving them. But then I also realised that I don't really want the citadel to be populated by people, because it should be abandoned, because I want it to, I don't want to spend the time making people and such. I want to focus on robots and mechanical things, to show that there's a certain level of automation to all of this. And like, the citadel is quite old and your ship is broken, and you're trying to find parts in this broken place in order to repair yourself so you can go back home. I want it to all fit into that story, the story that I intended from the beginning. So I thought these could be robots instead, like just like repair bots, or just like any sort of robot that can help the functioning of this entire place. And they're more factory made, which I thought about what happens if the player flies up to the robots. Should they stop, or should they just pass right through you or something? Still not too sure about that yet, but I think making them stop would be fairly, actually no, it wouldn't be fairly difficult, but I think I want them just to be like unaware, not self-conscious robots, in that sense. So yeah, so I used reference for a lot of this, which you can find in the style guide and development document. This is heavily based on the citadel from Mass Effect with the bridges. However, it's a lot larger, and it doesn't have the gaps in them. I'm thinking it can be entirely cylindrical, because it could sort of simulate this artificial gravity by spinning around, and it will have a nice kind of thing to it. If you were to fly inside of it, you could effectively fly around it. which may prove quite interesting because you have to worry about hitting into the sides if it's spinning, and I also have to worry about. I just thought that I need to place the pivot in the middle of the mesh when I build the actual thing, so it can pivot around the middle and not somewhere like the bottom, where it's going to prove quite difficult to create the spinning motion. It will be quite slow though, so there's that. The Gravlock, I only thought about that because it's quite high up. It's quite like there's quite it's quite a lot to it. What am I trying to say? It's a big elevator. That's what I'm trying to say. And I wanted to simulate something like the lock that you have in Elite Dangerous when you go near a space station. And I was thinking that if there are actual people coming up this and down it, how would you make sure that they don't crash into each other? So I thought having this wall between them, so like here, and I'm gonna make this like a whole elevator, like a tube type thing. And I was thinking of putting advertisements in the middle to make it really like commercialized type of thing. So getting ready for you to go into the Citadel and buy things and whatnot. Because I feel like in an actual city you would have billboards and whatnot pretty much everywhere. But as you can see, there's shading issues where this this block, it should actually be there, but it's not. It's because it's a BSP brush, so there's like shading issues and whatnot. Like that is cut off completely, so I don't really know why. But I created this tube because I was like, well, one should be going up and one should be going down, and it blocks it off. So if one's coming up from the Citadel or one's going down from the Citadel, it's just like how you would have the lanes on a street or on a motorway. And the Gravlock, what I can actually do, I made the Gravlock in a way that if you see this arrow right here, this arrow determines which way the Gravlock pushes you. So what I can actually have is I can duplicate this and push it on the other way. So when they come out to go back to Earth, they can go up this way. If I go inside of it, they can go up this way, and the Gravlock pushes them up. So it's not only faster, but it goes in with the visual storytelling of this is how they would organize traffic. And I was thinking a shuttle ship service, just kind of like have some ships on there that look a bit more like buses, because it's like, how would the pedestrians get down? Well, maybe the only way down is a ship, so they have the shuttle ship service. And I was thinking these blockades on either side, because one's going up, one's going down, but because it's a security checkpoint, if I fly into it, because it's a security checkpoint, you'd have them just like a normal security checkpoint on any country border, whatever, where you would fly your ship up to the checkpoint, wait for authorization from these police type things, and I can have like a holographic shader here saying like authorized or whatever. Maybe the player presses something and it comes up on their cockpit view, and then I'm in the wrong lane, but and then they get authorization to go down, and then they can get pushed down. I like how the camera does that as well. That seems quite cool because it adds to the sense of velocity, to the sense of speed that they go in and out. this place I feel like I'm going to fill this with a lot of stuff, but I feel like it's going to be quite a lot of work. However, I'm going to utilize as many work-saving, time-saving techniques as possible, like spline meshes, hierarchical instant static meshes, procedure generation, and a modular building content. So for today, I feel like I've focused mainly. Yesterday I feel like I focused mainly on the entire visual aspect of it, and I utilized the things that I'm focusing on optimization as well, in having the instant static meshes, and even the blueprint is made in a way that I'm not moving one mesh at a time, because as that would be good, I thought, well, why not move the entire amount at a time? Because the way instant static meshes work is by rendering them in one drill call at any given time. So if I were to move an instance on its own, then I'd be effectively getting the processor and GPU to render all of this again in a frame. They would have to do it separately. So in a frame they would have to render each one separately and separate it, because I've chosen to move one of the meshes rather than all of them. So yeah, even in that way I'm using the technical art ability, and I'm trying to focus on how can I optimize the art assets to be most performant. And I'm even deleting them afterwards. I was thinking of resetting their position or something, but I'm deleting them and spawning a new one. And I'm moving the entire blueprint, which is good. But I'm also thinking about how can I make it friendly for myself and artists to use again in anything. So obviously the moving ones, I can just change their direction. It's a bit more complicated because I couldn't find a way to do it, but you change their direction by going into the timeline, and I can, if I want them to go into the negative X, I can just do negative, and it goes in a negative direction. But I've tried to optimize it as much as possible to make it easier, fast to build, and low on what's that? Is that unit? Does that work? There we go. Low on draw calls and performance. If we could do stat FPS. If I do stat FPS, there we go. So 120 frames per second. Even in the Citadel, we do stat FPS and stat units. It like, even again with all of this huge thing, it's quite performant. But what I do need to worry about is what was I going to say? I need to worry about the light mass, baking the light mass. I know that because they're such huge places, I need to ensure that I'm using light mass importance volumes, which I forgot yesterday, which is why it has things like lighting needs to be rebuilt, and when I tried to build the lighting, it was taking a long time because I wasn't using light mass important volumes. So I have to still think about those things. But yeah, that was for yesterday.